The United States offers many great national parks. Crater Lake is one of them. It is part of the Great Pacific Northwest, and it is located in Klamath County, Oregon. The actual crater has a diameter of around 6 miles and a depth of 1,148 feet. The park was established back in 1902, and it is roughly around 185,000 acres. It averages around 500,000 annual visitors. Although the crater is the main attraction of the park does offer many impressive features that we will be going over today. Crater Lake is located at a convergent boundary plate. More specifically, an ocean to continent boundary plate. This is where the oceanic plate subducts under the continental plate. More specifically, the Juan de Fuca subducts under the North American plate. This feature includes a volcanic arc, which is seen here, all the way down the northwestern region of the Cascades. A subduction zone begins at an oceanic trench. This is where the plate begins to bend and push downward. The subducting plate goes deep down into the mantle and releases water. This changes the chemistry of the rocks underneath the surface, causing them to melt and form magma. This is also the site of many deep earthquakes. A subducting plate will start to make volcanoes when it reaches the depth of 60 to 80 miles beneath the surface. So let's begin our interactive tour. Crater Lake is the site of past and present volcanic activity. This gives us the product of igneous rocks. Around the crater, you can find many kinds of igneous rocks as well as special geologic fossils. The most common rock found at Crater Lake is porphyritic andesite. It is an intermediate extrusive rock, and it is mainly composed of andesite. The second most common rock is pumice. It is an extrusive rock and is often found in volcanic areas. Here we see Pumice Castle, which is a famous site at Crater Lake. The third most common rock at Crater Lake would be basalt. It is an extrusive rock and it is mostly found in lower elevations of the park. Around the lake you can also see layers of piled andesite, dacite, pyroclastic flows, pumice, and even glacial till. One of the best features seen here is the Devil's Backbone. It is a dike composed of dark andesite that measures over 1,000 feet long by 50 feet across. The Pinnacles is one of the coolest hikes to see here at the park. It is perfectly fossilized geologic evidence of gas escaping from underneath the earth during past explosions. So what is Crater Lake really? Well, the actual crater is an ancient caldera that took approximately 1,500 years of rain and snow to accumulate enough water to fill the gigantic crater. The feature seen here is Wizard Island. Wizard Island is a cinder cone, which is a pile of cinders and ash that has formed inside the lake. The topography at Crater Lake is one that is affected by past and present volcanic activity. Here we can see the Umpqua National Forest, which is home to many volcanoes and has many mountains. Weathering is one of those processes. The Northwest is notorious for having a lot of annual rainfall. This would mean the hydrosphere is at work, affecting the land. One of the most common mass wastings seen here around the lake are talus slopes. These are a result of weathering lava beds, and they are a very steep type of mass wasting. These can be seen all around the lake. If you stay long enough around the rim, you're almost always guaranteed to see some sort of large material falling down a cliff. Along the rim, these are very common: rock slides, landslides, even mudslides. The vegetation here at Crater Lake can be sparse in some places, but very thick in others. The vegetation, the trees, and the shrubs here thrive throughout the harsh winters of Crater Lake. These are mainly composed of large pines. Wind is also a very large factor here at Crater Lake. I'm going to play a clip of when I visited Crater Lake in late June of 2015. You can hear that it was a very windy day. Movement and noises can also contribute to mass wastings. As you can see, the wind is very ferocious here, and it does often contribute to mass wastings. This would be the atmosphere at work. Annie Creek at Crater Lake is an example of a canyon. It is a small one, but a canyon nonetheless. We can also see evidence of past glaciation at Crater Lake. There are two very prominent U-shaped valleys seen around the rim of the lake. Here we see Sun Notch Valley, and here we see Kern Notch Valley. The formation of Mount Masana happened around 42,000 years ago. It was part of the Western Cascade Range and it was a quaternary volcano. It sat at 12,000 feet, being the tallest at its time. Around 7,700 years ago, the eruption of Mount Masana was a very large one. It spread around 12 cubic miles of rhyolite magma in form of tephra. Pyroclastic flows, lahars, created the tough terrain that we see today here at Crater Lake. Mount Masana eventually collapsed because the explosion was so large that large amounts of material were lost. This created our caldera, which we see today. The caldera at Crater Lake kept having small eruptions, which is why it was able to seal the floor and build Wizard Island over it. The water came from approximately 700 to 1500 years of rain and snowmelt to fill the caldera and build what we see today, which is our beautiful Crater Lake.